The shot heard around the world. You know, that's a pretty huge claim, right? But that's exactly how our source for this explainer, the Benny Johnson channel, described a single speech. I mean, it really makes you wonder, could one speech actually signal a massive shift in American politics? Well, let's break it down and see.
So, what actually happened at AmericaFest to get this kind of reaction? I mean, where's all this coming from? Well, according to our source, this speech, it didn't just happen out of nowhere. It was a direct response to a political firestorm that was already brewing behind the scenes.
So today we're diving into Senator JD Vance's big address at AmericaFest. And our source paints this as way more than just a speech. It's framed as, this really calculated response to some internal fighting and maybe, just maybe, the launch of a whole new vision for the conservative movement.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we'll get into the conflict that set the whole thing off. Then, we'll see how Vance stepped in with a call for unity. After that, we're going to dig into the real meat of his message, his whole idea of America as a Christian nation, and his big stance against DEI. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at the reaction, which has people whispering, JD 2028. Okay, so first up, the conflict. The source video makes it super clear that if you really want to get why Vance's speech hit so hard, you have to understand the drama that was already boiling over at this event.
So here's what apparently went down. The source says the tension kicked off on opening night. Commentator Ben Shapiro allegedly got on stage and started attacking some of the other speakers by name. We're talking big names like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. And well, that move apparently did not go over well. It created what the source literally calls a lot of drama, and it kind of cast this shadow over the whole conference. Now, the source frames this as way more than just some personal beef. It's really presented as a clash of two totally different philosophies. So on one side, you've got this group called the Denouncers. Their goal is basically to cancel or deplatform voices they don't agree with. But on the other side, you have the builders. They're all about debating ideas, the whole iron sharpens iron thing, believing it makes the movement stronger. And this big divide, this is the exact backdrop for JD Vance's speech.
So, with this really charged atmosphere, how did JD Vance handle it? Well, he walked right into the middle of it and addressed it head-on, making it pretty clear which of those two camps he was in. He literally gets up on stage and right out of the gate tackles the tension in the room with this one line. It was a complete rejection of that denouncer strategy, and it was a signal to everyone listening that he wasn't there to attack other conservatives.
And then, bam, he pivots straight to his core message. He's basically arguing, hey, our energy should be spent on building and growing, not trying to cancel each other. He laid out this vision for a path forward that was all about adding and expanding, a total contrast to tearing people down.
So, okay, if the goal is to build something, what's it going to be built on? What's the foundation? Right after that call for unity, Vance shifted gears to talk about what he sees as the one essential anchor of American identity. And this right here, this was really the central ideological claim of the whole speech. He declared that the one true anchor of the United States has always been its identity as a Christian nation. Okay, but what does that actually mean in his view? While Vance was quick to clarify exactly what he meant by that. He argued it's not about saying you have to be a Christian to be an American. No. For him, it's about Christianity being the nation's creed. That shared moral language that he believes has shaped everything from natural law and our duty to our neighbors all the way to religious liberty itself.
So, once he lays down that foundational identity, Vance connects it directly to modern policy. And he takes direct aim at diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, what we all know as DEI. And this was probably the most talked about, most provocative line of the entire speech. The source definitely highlights it as a key moment. It was a flat-out rejection of what he sees as a culture that demands apologies based on race. And right after dropping that line, he immediately laid out a really clear policy vision. He's talking about throwing DEI into the dustbin of history, judging people for who they are and not their ethnicity, and ending what he calls persecution based on identity, whether you're male, straight, gay, whatever. And the only thing he says you need to join this vision, you just have to be a great American patriot.
Okay, so after all that, how did people react? In our final section, we're going to look at the reception, which our source portrays as, well, nothing less than a political launch.
Yeah, the source video is not beating around the bush with its interpretation. It doesn't see this as just another speech at a conference. Nope. It's framing this as the unofficial kickoff of a 2028 presidential campaign, positioning Vance as a major contender for the future. And to back this up, the video just rolls through a ton of positive online reactions. You see comments calling him an adult how refreshing, and he's our only hope.
Someone else says, Vance is the guy. There's even this one vision of him as a young VP who could one day eclipse his former boss. I mean, the enthusiasm, at least as the source presents it, is just off the charts.
So all this leaves us with a big final question. Whether you see this speech as a call for unity, a cultural statement, or the start of a campaign, our source is crystal clear on one thing. A very specific vision for the future was laid out. Now, was it really the shot heard around the world? Well, that's a conversation that I think is really only just getting started.